Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into cybersecurity?
Always ready?
Well, judging by this pile of reports and articles, things are getting kind of wild out there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Massive data breaches, vulnerabilities everywhere you look, even AI-powered attacks.
This is enough to make you want to unplug completely, huh?
Honestly, yeah. But I guess understanding these threats is better than just hiding.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right?
So let's jump in. One headline that really caught my eye was about this site, Forces Pen Pals.
A social network for military personnel.
Yeah, and they got hit with a data breach. Over 1 million users affected.
1 million. Wow.
And it's not just any data, it's the social security numbers, proof of service docs.
Home addresses even. Pretty sensitive stuff.
Makes you wonder how a site for military folks, who should be super security conscious, gets hit like that.
Right. Well, seems it was a misconfigured server.
So even with all the right protocols in place,
Human error or just a technical oversight can create a big opening.
and those misconfigured servers, they're like a welcome mat for cyber criminals, huh?
Sadly, yes. Happens more often than you'd think.
So strong passwords and watching out for phishing emails aren't enough.
Nope. The whole foundation has to be solid, too.
Makes you think about the broader implications too, right? Having military data out in the wild like that.
Definitely. It's not just identity theft. It could be used for espionage, disinformation, even blackmail.
Scary stuff. Okay, so another wake-up call, the Equinox breach.
A healthcare organization in New York.
Over 21,000 patients and staff affected.
Yeah, social security numbers, health insurance details, medical records, the whole shebang.
This stuff can really ruin lives, huh?
No doubt. And this wasn't just a misconfiguration. The Lockbit ransomware group claimed responsibility for this one.
They're getting bolder, aren't they? Going after organizations with the most sensitive data.
It seems so. They even boasted about stealing 49 gigabytes of data.
Wow, it's like a digital hostage situation. But hey, not every story is a disaster, right?
True. Some companies are stepping up and being proactive about security.
Like Finastra, the financial software company.
They caught a breach early and are working to contain the damage.
Transparency goes a long way, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Being upfront and taking action quickly is key.
Much better than trying to sweep things under the rug, which probably happens more than we know.
Probably right. And sometimes what looks like a huge breach turns out to be less serious.
Like with Ford, right?
Yeah, they had a scare, but it turned out the leaked data was from a third-party supplier.
And it didn't involve sensitive customer info. Phew.
Still, it highlights a big point. You got to consider everyone in your supply chain.
That's right. You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Exactly. You can have the best security in the world, but if your partner is lax.
It puts you at risk. Okay, enough about breaches. Let's talk about the vulnerabilities themselves.
How do these cracks even appear in the first place?
Yeah, let's get into that. So even tech giants aren't immune, right?
Nope. Apple had to patch 2 zero-day vulnerabilities recently.
0 day? That sounds serious.
It is. It's a flaw that's unknown to the vendor, but is being actively exploited by attackers.
Yikes. So like a ticking time bomb.
Precisely. And in this case, the vulnerabilities were in Apple's JavaScript core and WebKit.
That's the stuff used in browsers and apps, right?
Right. Which means attackers could potentially hijack devices without users even knowing.
And do all sorts of nasty stuff.
Steal data, install malware, take complete control, the whole 9 yards.
So those Apple updates, gotta install them ASAP. Okay, but this next one is almost funny.
What's that?
Decades-old vulnerabilities were found in Ubuntu's Need for a Start package.
You're kidding. How does something like that slip through for so long?
Beats me. The package is included in Ubuntu server and had flaws that could give attackers root privileges.
Wow, full control of the server. And these flaws were known about back in 2014.
So much for out with the old, in with the new when it comes to software.
Right. It's like those harmless-looking packages can be hiding dangers for years.
Speaking of needing updates, Trend Micro Deep Security and Atlassian SourceTree also had patch vulnerabilities.
More remote code execution risks.
It's a never-ending battle to keep everything updated and secure.
It really is. And speaking of urgent updates, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISO, issued a warning.
About
A critical vulnerability in Kemp LoadMaster, a popular networking device. They're actually recommending people stop using it entirely until it's fixed.
Wow, they're not messing around. Okay, so we've seen how fragile our data is and how those vulnerabilities lurk in the shadows.
Right.
But now let's talk AI. It's being used for attacks, too.
Yes, AI. Powerful tool, but a double-edged sword for sure.
One report that stood out was the OWASP top 10 list for LLMs,
LLMs being
large language models, the tech behind those AI chatbots.
the ones that write poems in code.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like any new tech, there are security risks.
Two big ones are sensitive information disclosure and supply chain vulnerabilities.
So like a chatbot accidentally spilling personal data from its training.
That's sensitive information disclosure.
Yeah.
And for supply chain vulnerabilities, imagine AI models trained on bad data or tampered with.
So even the AI designed to help us can become a target.
Or a weapon itself.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
AI is here, and it's being used in ways we never imagined.
We need to approach it with both excitement and caution.
Totally agree. Huge potential benefits, but we got to be aware of the risks and how to mitigate them.
Absolutely. The report also mentions things like system prompt leakage and vector and embedding weaknesses.
We get a bit technical there.
I know, but the point is, AI security is something we got to pay attention to.
No doubt about it. It's not just the tech itself, but how we use it, train it, and govern it.
Speaking of which, another report looked at generative AI in software development. Seems like it's already widely adopted.
96% of companies are using AI-based tools to build or deliver applications. That's a huge number.
Wow. But the report also mentions that developers and security professionals are expressing concerns.
Rightfully so. It's like letting the fox guard the hen house, isn't it? What if the AI introduces vulnerabilities we don't even know about?
Or someone manipulates the AI to create backdoors or other flaws.
All valid concerns. And then there's the risk of over-reliance on AI, leading to complacency and lax security practices.
AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
Can't forget that human oversight and critical thinking are still crucial.
We can't just blindly trust the machines to get it right. Okay, we've covered data breaches, vulnerabilities, and AI-powered attacks.
A lot to digest.
But there's one more thing before we move on. The rise of malicious QR codes.
QR codes, those little squares you scan with your phone.
Yep, those. They're being used for something called quishing.
Quishing. Okay, I haven't heard that one before.
It's like phishing, but instead of clicking a bad link, you scan a malicious QR code.
So someone could send me an email with a QR code that looks harmless.
And if you scan it, bam, you end up on a fake website or download malware.
And security measures don't always scrutinize QR codes as closely as regular URLs.
They slip through the cracks more easily. That innocent QR code on a flyer could be a trap.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
60% of emails with QR codes are classified as spam or malicious.
That's a lot higher than I would have thought. Makes you think twice before scanning anything, doesn't it?
Definitely. Be cautious and verify the legitimacy of any QR code, especially from emails or unknown sources.
If in doubt, better safe than sorry, right?
Absolutely. Welcome back to our cybersecurity deep dive. Before we move on, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier about feeling overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot to take in. Even for someone who follows this stuff, it can get a bit scary sometimes. We're surrounded by these digital threats. It feels like the bad guys are always a step ahead.
I get it. The sheer volume and complexity of it all can be daunting.
Right.
But remember, knowledge is power.
Right. Better to be informed than ignorant, I guess. So what other insights do these reports offer?
Let's talk about the transportation sector. A report from the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, criticizes the TSA.
Wait, the TSA? I thought they were the airport security folks.
They are, but they're also responsible for cybersecurity in the transportation sector. And the GAO is saying they're not doing enough to protect against things like ransomware attacks.
Seriously? So they're not just checking our bags. They're supposed to be protecting our planes and trains and stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The report also mentions concerns about internet-connected devices and whether cybersecurity measures are being adopted across the industry.
Wow. So it's not just our data that's vulnerable, but potentially our critical infrastructure, too. This is getting unsettling.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is. What happens in the digital world can have real-world consequences.
No kidding. Okay, so it's not just about protecting our data, but our safety and well-being, too.
Exactly. And it underscores the need for a more collaborative approach, right? Government agencies, private organizations, individuals, we all need to work together on this.
All hands on deck. So any reports about specific cyber criminal groups or their tactics?
Yeah, there's one that delves into the activities of a Russia-linked group.
Okay, what are they up to?
They're using a technique called living off the land.
Living off the land. That sounds more like survival skills than cyber attacks.
It's a pretty sneaky tactic, actually. They use legitimate tools and processes already present on a victim system.
So they're blending in, making themselves harder to detect.
Exactly. They exploit built-in features, manipulate scripts, leverage existing software to achieve their goals. It's like a digital chameleon.
That's pretty devious. So how do you even defend against something like that?
It requires a multifaceted approach. Enhanced endpoint security, robust monitoring systems, user education about suspicious activities, that kind of thing.
So back to being proactive and vigilant, it seems like a recurring theme.
It is. Awareness, education, and a proactive approach to security. Those are key takeaways from these reports.
Okay, we've talked about a lot of threats. Anything positive? Any solutions that offer some hope?
Actually, yes. There's one report that focuses on the adoption of a security framework known as Zero Trust.
Zero trust.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit extreme, like you trust no one and nothing.
In a way, that's the point. The old security model relied on perimeter-based defenses. Build a wall around your network. Assume everything inside is safe.
Right, the classic castle defense.
Exactly. But Zero Trust flips that on its head. It assumes no user or device can be trusted by default, regardless of their location. Every user, every device, every application, they all need to be verified before they get access to resources.
So it's like constant authentication and verification.
Exactly. It can be complex to implement, but the benefits are significant. Reduces the attack surface, limits lateral movement within a network, mitigates the impact of breaches.
So a much more proactive and granular approach to security.
Precisely. And it's gaining traction across different industries as organizations realize the old ways aren't enough anymore.
It's encouraging to know that there are innovative solutions out there, but it also makes it clear how complex this whole thing is.
It is a complex and constantly changing landscape, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
The key is to stay informed, ask questions, and keep learning.
That's what we're here for, trying to help our listeners navigate this crazy digital world safely. So what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway from all this?
It's the convergence of several trends, I think. The increasing sophistication of attacks, the blurring lines between the physical and digital, the rapid advancement of things like AI.
Like a perfect storm brewing in the cyber world.
In a way, yes. But it's also an opportunity for innovation and collaboration. We need to adapt our strategies, embrace new technologies, and foster a culture of cybersecurity awareness.
It's a call to action for all of us to step up and protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's keep going. What else is in this stack of reports?
Let's delve into this report on ransomware. They're increasingly targeting managed service providers, or MSPs.
MSPs. Remind me what those are again.
They're third-party companies that provide IT services to other businesses. They manage networks, systems, data, that sort of thing.
Right, so by targeting MSPs, attackers could hit multiple clients at once.
Exactly. It's a very effective, albeit unfortunate, strategy. Compromise one MSP, and you can deploy ransomware across an entire network of clients.
Like a digital domino effect, one breach leads to a cascade of infections.
A great analogy. It really highlights how interconnected our digital ecosystem is. A vulnerability in one place can have far-reaching consequences.
Makes you realize how crucial cybersecurity is for everyone, not just tech companies.
Absolutely. So, what can MSPs do to protect themselves and their clients? Well, the report emphasizes robust security measures, multi-factor authentication, strong passwords, regular security updates, comprehensive backups.
All the basics we've been talking about.
Exactly. But it also stresses the importance of incident response planning and cyber insurance.
So being proactive and having a plan for when things inevitably go wrong?
Right. And it's not just about the technical stuff, it's about education, making sure employees understand security best practices, fostering that culture of vigilance.
There's that awareness and education theme again. It might sound repetitive, but it's clearly essential.
It really is. It's the foundation of any good cybersecurity strategy.
It seems like cyber criminals are always finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities. What else should we be aware of?
This report focuses on the increasing use of social engineering techniques.
Social engineering, isn't that just a fancy way of saying manipulating people?
You could say that. It's about exploiting human psychology rather than technical flaws. Think phishing emails, fake websites, impersonating legitimate organizations to trick people into giving up passwords, financial info, that kind of thing.
So like a digital con game, you're not hacking a system, you're hacking a person.
Exactly. And it's incredibly effective. Humans are often the weakest link in the chain.
That's a bit depressing, but probably true. So how do we protect ourselves from these social engineering scams, besides just not being gullible, of course?
Awareness is key. Be wary of any unsolicited emails, messages, or calls asking for personal information. Always verify websites before entering sensitive data.
And if something sounds too good to be true,
It probably is. A healthy dose of skepticism is essential in the digital world.
So be cautious, think critically before clicking links or giving up personal info.
Exactly. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Okay, so we've got ransomware attacks, social engineering scams. What else is lurking out there?
Let's talk cloud infrastructure. It's becoming a prime target.
The cloud. I thought that was supposed to be more secure than traditional systems.
That's a common misconception. Cloud providers invest heavily in security, yes, but the responsibility for securing data and applications often falls on the users themselves.
So it's not a set it and forget it solution.
Nope, not at all. You need strong security controls, carefully managed access permissions, constant monitoring of your cloud environment.
Sounds like cloud security requires a whole different mindset, a different set of skills even.
It does. And it's an area where a lot of organizations are still playing catch-up. The report stresses the need for specialized cloud security expertise and the importance of integrating it into an organization's overall strategy.
Another reminder that cybersecurity is constantly evolving and we need to adapt.
Complacency is the enemy of security, you know?
Okay, so we've got ransomware, social engineering, cloud security. It's not just about the tech, is it? It's about people and processes too.
You're absolutely right. Cybersecurity is multifaceted. It requires a holistic approach.
Not just building higher walls, but fostering that culture of security awareness, implementing robust processes, adapting to the changing threat landscape.
It's a collective effort, individuals, organizations, governments, all working together to create a safer digital world.
We're all in this together, right? Okay, I'm sure there's more to unpack. What else do we have?
Let's look at this report on artificial intelligence, AI, in cybersecurity.
We talked about AI-powered attacks and AI in software development, but what about using AI to defend against these threats?
Well, AI is playing an increasingly important role on both sides of the cybersecurity battle. This report highlights how AI can analyze huge amounts of data, identify patterns, and detect anomalies that might indicate malicious activity.
So it's like having a digital detective constantly watching over your systems.
You could say that. AI can also automate tasks like threat intelligence gathering, vulnerability scanning, incident response.
Frees up human analysts to focus on more strategic stuff?
Exactly. AI handles the repetitive tasks. Humans handle the stuff that requires creativity, critical thinking, intuition.
Sounds like a powerful partnership. But are there any concerns about relying too much on AI for security? What if it makes a mistake or gets hacked itself?
There are always risks with any new technology. This report mentions concerns about bias in AI algorithms, the need for transparency in AI-driven decisions, the importance of human oversight.
So it's not about replacing human security professionals, but augmenting their capabilities.
Precisely. Finding that balance between human expertise and AI-powered tools.
It's fascinating to think about how AI will shape the future of cybersecurity.
It's an area to watch, for sure.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexities of cybersecurity.
It's constantly evolving, challenging, and rewarding all at the same time.
It's clear we need to stay informed, adapt our strategies, and remain vigilant to stay ahead of the game.
Well said, and remember, complacency is the enemy. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. We all have a role to play.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this episode. Data breaches, vulnerabilities, AI-powered attacks, social engineering scams, cloud security, the role of AI in cybersecurity, and the importance of a holistic approach. It's a lot to process.
It is, but it's essential knowledge for anyone navigating the digital world.
I feel much more informed, but I'm curious, what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway?
For me, it's the interconnectedness of everything. The blurring of the physical and digital worlds, our increasing reliance on technology, the growing sophistication of attacks. It's a complex and ever-changing, but it's also an opportunity for innovation and collaboration. We need to adapt, embrace new technologies, and really foster a culture of cybersecurity awareness.
It's a call to action, right? To step up our game and protect ourselves in this constantly evolving digital landscape.
We're all in this together. That's the key takeaway for me.
Okay, that wraps up part 2 of our cybersecurity deep dive. Welcome back for the final part of our cybersecurity deep dive. We've uncovered some pretty unsettling stuff about data breaches, vulnerabilities, and those AI-powered attacks. It really paints a stark picture of the digital world, doesn't it?
It does, but we've also seen reasons for optimism, like the zero trust framework, and how AI can help bolster our defenses.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to the idea of interconnectedness in the digital world. It keeps popping up, and for good reason.
Definitely. It's crucial to understand that we can't think about security in isolation anymore. A breach in one area can have a ripple effect across entire systems and industries.
Exactly, like that domino effect with the MSP attacks. It makes you realize we need a more collaborative approach to cybersecurity. We all need to work together to strengthen the whole ecosystem, right?
Couldn't agree more. It's about moving beyond protecting our own little castles and fortifying the whole kingdom. Information sharing, collaboration, collective defense that needs to be the norm.
So instead of just building higher walls, we need to work together to create a more secure digital world for everyone.
Exactly. And that takes a shift in mindset. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT issue anymore, it's everyone's responsibility.
So individuals need to take charge of their own digital hygiene. Organizations need to implement strong security measures, and governments need to create policies that promote a safe digital environment.
It's a big challenge, but it's one we can tackle through collaboration, knowledge sharing, and innovation.
Speaking of innovation, there's one last report that caught my eye. It focuses on ethical hackers, or white hat hackers, and how they're improving cybersecurity.
Yes, ethical hackers. They play a vital role. They use the same techniques and tools as the bad guys, but with good intentions. They find vulnerabilities before malicious actors can exploit them.
It's like a controlled burn in a forest, right? Intentionally set a small fire to prevent a larger, more destructive one.
Perfect analogy. By finding and addressing those vulnerabilities proactively, ethical hackers make our systems more resilient.
So, not all hackers are bad. Some are actually essential allies in the fight against cybercrime.
Absolutely. And their role is only going to become more important as the cybersecurity landscape evolves.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. We've uncovered some scary truths about the threats out there, but also found reasons for optimism.
It's been a fascinating exploration, that's for sure. We've seen both the challenges and the solutions that are emerging.
We've learned a lot along the way.
A lot. But remember, the learning never stops. This landscape is always changing. So it's vital to stay informed, adapt, and remain vigilant.
To our listeners, we encourage you to keep digging into this topic, ask questions, challenge assumptions, and make security a priority in all your digital interactions.
Because in the end, cybersecurity is about people, processes, and a shared responsibility to make the digital world safer for everyone.
And on that empowering note, it's time to bring this deep dive to a close.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there in the digital world.